Alright, what's going on, guys? SteelTwins back at you with another video.
Absolutely, man. So let's just get right into it. With the 20th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select A.J. Brown, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Simply put, we're not sure if both Devons are going to be on the board. We're not sure if any good corners are going to be on the board. I would totally go for Byron Murphy if he's there on the board, but there's a chance he might not be there. We could go pass rusher here. We could go tight end, but the Steelers might want to save tight end for later. Same thing with pass rusher. And although I like the Moncrief signing, I feel like that we should definitely still go after receiver. This upcoming draft, I have a feeling that we're going to go receiver early. It's the Steelers' thing to do. And A.J. Brown at number 20, man, we were torn between A.J. Brown, N'Keal Harry, or Hakeem Butler. And honestly, the best receiver right there and the best player right there arguably might be A.J. Brown. I love Hakeem Butler because of his size and his speed combination. I love N'Keal Harry. I feel like he's an incredible mismatch with his height and his aggressive catching ability. And I love it. I love Hakeem Butler, A.J. Brown, and N'Keal Harry, man. I would totally go for either one of them in the first round. They're all great talents. We think that they're each going to have great careers in this league. But A.J. Brown just might be the best receiver on the board there, and why not? A.J. Brown is a hell of a fucking receiver, man. He's very versatile. He can play in the slot and outside, which the Steelers are definitely going to utilize because they did it with Juju last year. They did it with Antonio Brown. I'm sure they're going to do it with James Washington this year, and I'm sure they would do it with A.J. Brown. So, that's kind of a bonus or an edge of what the Steelers could use him for, his versatility, but he's got speed to him. He's very aggressive. His yak yardage is incredible. It's fucking crazy. It's dangerous what he can do after he gets the ball in his hands, man. It's insane. He's a phenomenal deep threat. He would be a hell of a receiver that we could definitely develop into being a number 2 opposite of Juju. This guy reminds me a lot of Juju, to be honest.
Yeah, he really does when it comes to catching, route running, aggressiveness, playmaking ability.
Seriously, it's insane. A.J. Brown, what a fucking athlete. What a freak, man. And honestly, a bonus with us drafting him. I know this has been said numerous times, but it's the fucking truth. We can actually repurpose our Antonio Brown jerseys. Hopefully, we actually give him 84 if we do indeed draft A.J. Brown, but they probably won't do that because of course, business. Because of, finance.
Right, of course.
It's a cheap way of doing it, but, depending on how you look at it, it's a very smart business move. Instead of the fans just repurposing the Antonio Brown jerseys, those would give them a different number with the same fucking name so that they can get more money off of it. And here I am with my conspiracy theories, but nonetheless.
Nonetheless, if A.J. Brown becomes a Pittsburgh Steeler, he would make this team more dynamic, more deadly, more dominant.
Yeah, and Ben would just love him as a target, and he would just make this offense so much stronger. He would add this, excitement to this offense that, we had with Antonio Brown and Juju, but, take it one step further, which is insane.
Oh, without a doubt.
Seriously,
Yeah. Now, with the 52nd overall pick in 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Chase Winovich, edge rusher from Michigan.
Yes, we got our edge rusher to replace Dupree and everything. The great thing about Winovich is that same thing what we did with Stephon Tuitt before Brett Kiesel retired and everything. We could sit him under a year and then have him develop, split reps possibly with Dupree or whatever, and then eventually he'll come into that starting role because depending on who you talk to, you guys already know our opinions on Dupree. We're not big fans of him. He could have a breakout year this year. He could shut us up and everything, but 9 times out of 10, we can't really we can't really trust Dupree to do so. But, anything can happen. But nonetheless, maybe the Steelers trade Dupree. Maybe they just don't have faith in Dupree themselves, so they go edge rusher to replace it, so we don't have to worry about that the next upcoming year. And developing Winovich under Dupree and under whoever to start eventually opposite T.J. Watt, man, I think that's a great idea. I think that's a great thing to look at. And he would just you guys may say we don't really need edge rusher early. We don't need linebacker because we can obviously get sacks. We can get to the quarterback because we I believe we've led the league in sacks for the past 2 seasons, even with Dupree. So you guys may say, we don't really need edge rusher all that much, or that we don't really need to focus on edge rusher, too much
or too early into the draft.
Right.
But why not?
Yeah.
And make this pass rush even more deadly.
Seriously, and honestly, it would give us a little bit more flexibility next year into the draft, so we don't have to worry about linebacker again.
Exactly.
And we can focus on tight end, maybe safety, maybe defensive end, maybe who knows?
Offensive lineman,
Defensive
possibly.
tackle, offensive lineman. Many things we can do next year if we try to address the edge rusher, outside linebacker spot opposite TJ Watt this year. It would just give us a lot more flexibility, I feel like Winovich would be that perfect fucking guy, man. Strong, fast, passionate, a lot of heart, man. He's aggressive. He can get to the quarterback, great in the run support. He has all the tools. So him sitting under for a year and splitting reps within his rookie season would just do him wonders.
Without doubt.
Seriously. Now, with the 66th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Darnell Savage, safety out of Maryland. So, yes, we drafted another Maryland safety. Sean Davis obviously came from Maryland. He's been pretty underwhelming and everything. This would pretty much be, and this would add a little bit more flexibility for next year's draft as well, because instead of having to worry about safety next year, we address the safety position this year, and we have Savage sit under Davis for a year, and then because there's no doubt in my mind Davis is going to be with us next season. He's definitely going to start. Maybe we split reps with Davis and Savage or whatever. Time will tell if we do address safety this year, but I feel like it'd be a great way to address safety. And, since Polamalu retired, we really haven't had a safety that had time to develop. They've all kind of been rushed into a spot. Sean Davis, was rushed into his role because, we lost Polamalu, and Shamarko Thomas wasn't doing shit. Plus, injuries, the injuries of players affected him. Same thing with Terrell Edmonds.
Yeah, well, Morgan Burnett last year when he was supposed to, although he was supposed to be the main dime backer, he could have started at strong safety for a good couple games, but injuries prevented that from happening.
Yes.
So Edmonds had to start.
Yes, and with Savage, we would be able to avoid that by having him develop. Now, unless there's an injury, of course, if Edmonds gets hurt, if Davis gets hurt, but, nonetheless, I feel like we could develop Savage into eventually being the starting free safety opposite Terrell Edmonds after next season. And I feel like it would do our secondary wonders because we actually have someone that can sit under a year, we can develop, we can marinate, and then when he eventually steps in, he's actually more comfortable. He doesn't feel rushed. He doesn't feel pressured, all that shit.
Exactly. And Darnell Savage has all the tools to be a great safety in the NFL.
Yeah.
Especially with the Steelers.
Yes, he has some decent height. He's strong. He's fast. He's got great IQ. He has impressive ball hawk ability, which we know that we need at the safety position and in the secondary overall. So he can apply turnovers. He's pretty decent in run support. He's not the perfect safety, but that's why we would develop him. Plus, I feel like he's a little too skinny. I feel like he could bulk up a little bit, and that's where we can help him develop as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like this pick would just be a great way to help the secondary and help develop him into eventually being hopefully the future for our secondary opposite of Edmonds.
Right. Now, with the 83rd overall pick in 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Miles Sanders, running back from Penn State.
Yes, what a fucking selection this would be. Now, running back this early, I know, it may not seem too likely, but, the Steelers have had many pre-draft visits and pre-draft workouts with a ton of running backs, man. Guys like Jordan Scarlett and Mike Weber. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Miles Sanders did come out and say he would love to play for the Steelers.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin.
So with the Steelers being with a ton of running backs, that probably has to mean two things. One, they want to add more to the running back position for the Steelers.
Please and thank
and they
you.
may want to go back to that old school Steelers way with always running the ball.
Please and thank
Getting
you.
back to running the ball like we used to.
Yes.
Back when we had Bettis and Franco and Deuce Staley and Willie Parker and Rocky Blyer, like all running backs like that, legendary running backs for the Steelers.
Yes. It's just if you look at history, man, it just shows that when we utilize the rushing game, we're a little bit more powerful, a little bit more balanced.
Even with backups, we can utilize them and it can really move the six for the offense.
Right. We've said it countless of times. You guys already know that one of the main reasons why we're on that 6-game winning streak and even beating the Patriots last year was because we utilized the rushing game. We ran a lot with Connor. We ran a lot with Samuels. We were a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more balanced. Ben wasn't really forced as much, and everything with his age. So I feel like that's what Miles Sanders could apply. He'd be a great number 2, number 3. This guy is a fucking monster, man. He has incredible vision. He's very nice. He has pretty nice patience. He's very well balanced. And honestly, the way I see it, man, after he gets past the line of scrimmage, after he gets past the offensive line, man, he just runs a lot like Le'Veon Bell. He's just so fucking explosive, man. He'll put you on ice. Whether that's fucking tear your ACL, whether that's fucking give you a concussion, he'll fucking run you over, he'll fucking destroy you, he's just so fucking impressive. Sitting behind Saquon Barkley for 2 years, I feel like that helped him marinate in his craft a little bit.
And get better on the field.
Right, and then when Barkley obviously got drafted last year, he came into the starting role, and then he just had a breakout fucking season. I feel like that's where we could take him in the third round, at the end of the third round, at the end of day 2, and just apply more to our rushing game and be a hell of a fucking rotational backup for James Conner.
Absolutely, we can utilize all our running backs and rotate them, just like how the Saints do it, just like how the Falcons do it.
Yes.
The 49ers, even the Patriots. I mean, Tom Brady didn't throw it a lot like he usually does.
Exactly.
And the Patriots utilize a lot of their talent in the rushing game, and look what happened.
Exactly. And the good thing about Sanders is that he's pretty versatile. We can use him a little bit as a receiver. He can work on that a little bit, similar to what James Conner, because when he came out of college, he wasn't really much of a receiving back, but now he's kind of developing at that. We used him a lot as a receiving back last year, and it definitely helped him become a much more pure running back and everything.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what we can do with Sanders, and him sitting behind Conner would definitely help him with that as well.
Exactly.
So we can do many things with Sanders, man, but he'll be a hell of a rotational backup.
Yeah, if we really utilize our rushing game, our offense could be insane.
Yes,
like it already is.
Exactly. He would add another great piece to this already stacked offense.
Absolutely.
Seriously.
Now, with the 122nd pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select David Long, inside linebacker from West Virginia.
Yes, we finally get inside linebacker. We've kind of been holding off. And honestly, yes, the Steelers have, looked at many inside linebackers. They are clearly looking to address inside linebacker issue. It's clearly our biggest need. It's our worst position, arguably, right now. So, but honestly, I don't see both. In this mock, it's possible both Devons aren't going to be there at 20. Maybe they don't want to reach on Mac Wilson, or maybe they don't want to trade down necessarily, or maybe if Mac Wilson lasts to the second round, maybe they try to trade up, but they're unsuccessful, or maybe they don't feel like trading up. Or
maybe if guys like Trevon Coney or Jermaine Pratt are, gone, we don't really want to reach on the inside linebacker in the third.
Right, and honestly, maybe they can get a Jermaine Pratt.
Yeah, but what if he's taken too?
That's the thing. Yes.
That's what I said.
But that's why in the fourth round, we can get absolute fucking steal in David Long, who was honestly just as athletic, just as fast as Devin Bush. And honestly, again, we're not stat guys or anything, but if you look at his production, if you look at his statistics, he has better production than Devin Bush.
He really does.
He's just as fast, like I said. He's just as athletic. He's great in the rushing game. He's pretty good in the pass rush as well. And the Steelers love to blitz their inside linebackers a lot. So he would definitely help us with that. And with his speed, I mean, that's just fucking crazy to think about. He clearly has the sideline-to-sideline speed that we need, that the Steelers would fucking love. And I'm not sure about his coverage ability. I don't think, we didn't really see much of his coverage ability. If you guys know more about his coverage ability, let us know in the comments, please. David Long will be a hell of a steal in the fourth round, and someone we could definitely develop into being an inside linebacker, and being the future inside linebacker. And another thing is that he wouldn't really start day one because we signed Mark Barron, and, Mark Barron would more than likely be the dime backer and everything, similar to what Morgan Burnett was supposed to be last year. But he can start inside linebacker for a few weeks until David Long gets comfortable, until he gets marinated enough that he can step into that inside linebacker role.
Right.
Now, with the 141st pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select David Long, cornerback from Michigan.
Yes, we select both David Longs in this year's NFL Draft.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. This was completely by accident. But honestly, why the hell not? We actually get depth at cornerback with this selection. And David Long, the cornerback specifically, is honestly not a bad corner. He's not the perfect corner or anything, but he would definitely be a very nice depth guy. He can start on special teams. He's a guy that can sit behind Joe Hayden and Steven Nelson and Cameron Sutton and all those guys, Maybe battle with Brian Allen or Audie Burns for a roster spot, and he can be a nice special teamer and potentially even develop into a decent starter because he has that potential. He has a lot of potential, man. He's got some decent size to him, nice speed. He has nice closing speed as well. He's got some decent ball skills. Again, he's not the perfect corner, but he would be a very nice depth corner that has the potential to develop into an eventual starter.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
This guy's got a ton of potential. He actually reminds me just a little bit of a faster Josh Norman. Because
really?
How Norman was selected in the 5th by the Panthers, and he developed, and you saw what he did.
Right. Same thing could be said about Richard Sherman.
Absolutely.
So
David Long could very well be in that discussion as well. A fifth-round guy taken, a talented player taken in the fifth round, developing and being a fucking hell of a player in the league.
yeah, why
I
not?
definitely think so. Long's got a lot of potential.
He does have, great potential that he can definitely develop. With good development, with great development and great coaches around him.
Especially with Tom Bradley, our new defensive back coach, I think it could do wonders for David Long.
Yeah, he could definitely develop into a potential star because, like we said, he has the potential to do so.
He really does.
So yeah, man.
Now with the 175th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Dawson Knox, tight end from Ole Miss.
Yeah, we get another Ole Miss guy, man. This time Dawson Knox, and this would pretty much solve our number 2 tight end spot, where Dawson Knox can be a hell of a blocker. He's not the perfect blocker, but he is a pretty nice, developed, and polished and determined blocker. He was used a lot as a blocker at Ole Miss in the passing and the rushing game. And the Steelers are definitely going to utilize him in that because how they like to use their tight ends mostly as blockers. We did it with Heath. We did it with Jesse James. We're doing it with Vance. We did it with Matt Space. We did it with many tight ends. So that's where Dawson Knox can thrive at first of all. But at the same time, he's a guy that can definitely develop into being a very nice receiver because he wasn't used a lot in Ole Miss as a receiver. I feel like he was criminally underutilized in Ole Miss. Granted, that was because, he had A.J. Brown and DeMarcus Lodge and DK Metcalf under him over him and everything. But Dawson Knox can really develop into a hell of a receiver and honestly could be another George Kittle-like type of pick because George Kittle didn't get drafted until the 5th, and if you look at his stats in Iowa, he didn't really do shit. And look at him now. He just had 1,300 yards with 3 different type of fucking quarterbacks on the 49ers of all teams.
Exactly.
So
Dawson Knox has the same potential and talent-wise that could really get him into a George Kittle type level in the NFL.
yes, he does. And if you look at their combine, measurables, they're kind of similar. They ran nearly the same 40. They have the same bench press. They're pretty much the same identical type of player. They're both very nice polished blockers that came in using that specific type of role mostly.
And can really convert into a great receiving tight end.
Yes, and honestly, I feel like that's what we can do with Dawson Knox because how the Steelers like to develop their tight ends. And honestly, with great development, Dawson Knox, with his speed, with his blocking ability, can be a very nice receiving tight end if we want to utilize him like that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, man. Now, at the 192nd pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Kevin Givens, defensive tackle out of Penn State, another Penn State guy. This would pretty much apply depth at the defensive line because although we signed Daniel McCullers to a 2-year deal,
as well as Tyson Alualu, our defensive line depth is kind of weak as of right now.
Yeah, outside of Tyson Alualu, but he's not going to be here forever. He is getting up there with age. I'm sure the contract he just signed with us will probably be the last contract he signs with us, or probably his career overall. So he's not going to be here forever. And I love Tuitt, but it seems like every single year he gets sidelined with some sort of injury, whether it's a bicep injury, a shoulder injury, a knee injury, or whatever. It seems like every year he gets sidelined with some sort of injury. And our defensive line depth the past few years has been mediocre outside of, again, Tyson Alualu. I don't trust L.T. Walton at all. I don't trust Daniel McCullers at all. I feel like that's where Kevin Givens can come in, and he can play defensive tackle and defensive end, so he can come in, and we can utilize him at both positions, but mostly defensive end, be the backup defensive end.
Yeah, seriously. Kevin Givens is a very talented individual. He was in Penn State. He was very versatile, like you said, at defensive tackle and defensive end. The guy's got nice speed, good strength, good tackling ability.
Mm-hmm.
He really developed as a very, very good backup for the Steelers.
Absolutely.
Especially under Carl Dunbar.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's where we would use him, mostly depth on the defensive line. And we need to add a little bit more depth to that defensive line.
Yeah.
So
now with the 207th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Alex Bars, guard from Notre Dame.
Yeah, this would just be depth on the defensive or on the offensive line. You guys know us about Alex Bars. We've been mentioning his name for a few months now.
And several mocks, and we are seriously high on Alex Bars. When Quentin Nelson went to the NFL Draft last year, he stepped in and really shined, in my opinion.
Yes.
Like, he did really well until he went out with an ACL injury.
Right. And with great development, he can develop into a very nice rotational backup guard. Potentially even he has the potential to be a great starting guard in this league, but I think we can start him off as a backup behind Ramon Foster. Because I have a feeling B.J. Finney's going to be the starting, the backup center behind Marquise Pouncey. So I feel like that's where we can use Alex Bars to take over that B.J. Feeney role at left and right guard.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now, the 219th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Terry Godwin, wide receiver out of Georgia. So we double dip on wide receiver here with the last pick. Why not? It applies a little bit more depth to the wide receiver. You know the Steelers love those late round receivers. We've done it many times before in the draft. We did it with Antonio Brown, of course. We did it with DeMarcus Ayers a few years back. So you know the Steelers love those late round receivers, and they, the way they develop receivers, especially in the late round, is pretty immaculate. So I feel like that's where Terry Godwin can thrive. There, he can be a great backup. Maybe battle with Eli Rogers or someone for a roster spot potentially. Maybe he gets on the practice squad and then eventually develops and takes over the Eli Rogers spot role. So who knows? But you guys know Terry Godwin. He's mostly known for that great one-handed catch against Notre Dame on Julian Love and everything. But that kind of shows you the potential that Terry Godwin can have and that he can bring and everything. So now, not every guy that makes a phenomenal one-handed catch is going to be a great fucking receiver and everything, but they have the potential. And Terry Godwin has a lot of potential there.
Yeah, seriously.
He can play inside and out. He's got some decent speed. It's not the best speed for a guy his size, but it's some decent speed.
I mean, Antonio Brown never ran a fast 40, just saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Just saying.
So, but seriously, and he'd be a great backup in the slot, honestly, if you ask me.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, man. Anyway, guys, that's our mock. Let us know your guys' thoughts, comments below, man. And we'll be back with another mock draft pretty soon. We're not sure what it is yet. It might be another 3-round mock, another 5, maybe another 7-round mock. We're brainstorming right now, but eventually we'll get it out there for you guys. Otherwise, let us know your guys' thoughts, comments below. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you later. Peace!